All right, the Krug Show meets Golden Days. The Warriors meet their ugly demise in Utah. It was a gag job of
Yeah.
one of the highest orders as Golden State was up 10 with 4 minutes to play. Utah finishes the game on I think a 20-6 run, and the Warriors lose. But that's not the story. The story is today was a big day in Warriorland as they traded for Jimmy Butler. They said goodbye to Andrew Wiggins. And are they done? We'll talk about that. Not only that, they give Butler a 2-year, $112 million contract extension. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's go right here, right now. All right, welcome to the Krug Show meets Golden Days. Of course, the Krug Show brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Pig and a Pickle. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Anthony Catania is the guy down there. Give him a call. He's at 831-521-5264. And
Can you read that number one more time? Read that because I'm actually going to write it down right now and call him. I literally will. So
yeah, it's 831-521-5264. The great Anthony Catania, the owner of Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, and they're huge in the sports cards and collectible industry, and they got a great little spot down there on the Monterey Peninsula. So go say hi to Anthony and give him a call, and he can handle all of your sports cards and collectible questions and needs. And, of course, we're also brought to you by Mancini's. Mancini's is a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. They offer a 120-night guarantee with a range of brands and price points. I'm loving my Mancini's bed. So with Mancini's, you get free next-day delivery. All you got to do is click the link below or go to sleepworld.com and find a bed that works for you. Whether you shop online or visit in store, use the code KRUG10, and you'll get 10% off your total mattress purchase. KRUG10, KRUEG 10, and you'll get 10% off in any of Mancini's locations or, of course, online at sleepworld.com. Cy, is there somebody you want to shout out before we get rolling here?
Absolutely. And real fast, the Mancini's read you just did. A good night's rest is so underrated. It's so under discussed in terms of your health. It's vital. So to get 10% off on a mattress that could cost you like $3,000, that's huge. Bravo. That's a hell of a deal. Underdog Fantasy. Definitely use the promo code GSW for your Golden State Warriors to get a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you sign up. Super fun to play, legal in over 30 states, including California. I post my picks daily. Did not make picks today because I had no clue who to bet with a night like this, with a blockbuster trade where heads are hung low with the Warrior. I was not touching games tonight. There's too much unpredictability there, but Underdog Fantasy is fun. Dr. Tom Rosanelli. For a gentleman, if you're dealing with the same issues LeBron James once had, the same issues a lot of other people, including my colleague Rick Barry, who's going to join me tomorrow, had, he went to Dr. Tom Rosanelli, who took care of his hair restoration needs. Dr. Rosanelli specializes in non-surgical treatments, including PRP, which slows hair loss, and PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma treatments. Only certain doctors use that, including Dr. Rosanelli. 415-931-9881 is the number. Again, 415-931-9881, or visit rosanelli.com for a free virtual visit. And last but not least, BetOnline. The Super Bowl, Larry, is this Sunday, and that's a gambler's delight. Check out BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform. Put your picks in. They've got props of the yin-yang. BetOnline, the game starts here. And we are off and running, brother. Jimmy Butler to the Warriors! Woo! I'm excited.
Well, I mean, here's it's been, by the way, a big day. Tomorrow is the NBA trade deadline. Mm-hmm. And just to keep you updated on the latest that's going on around the league, the Pelicans are trading Brandon Ingram to the Raptors for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick and a second-round pick. This is according to Shams. So
Weird.
that's the latest deal. The Knicks are trading the big man Jericho Sims to Milwaukee for DeLon Wright.
You wanted him, right? I saw you tweet that, I think, correct?
Yeah, I like Jericho
Warriors.
Sims. I mean, he's 6'11", and the guy's got a 46-inch vert, and he's got tons of athleticism. A lot of upside. No, he's super raw, but he's only 26. He's in his fourth season. They took him with the 58th pick. He appeared in 39 games this year, but he's only playing 10 minutes a night, and he wasn't really playing very much. So he's got an expiring $2.1 million contract. He's unrestricted this summer, but he's an incredible athlete. So they trade him for DeLon Wright. The Bulls and Lonzo Ball agreed to a 2-year extension. The Wizards traded Jonas Valanciunas to the Kings for CD Sissoko and 2 second-round picks. And, of course, the trade that all of our audience cares about, Warrior fans, was the Warriors acquired Jimmy Butler in exchange for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick. And the Pistons are also involved in the deal. They get Lindy Waters III from the Warriors and Josh Richardson from the Heat. Schroeder is being rerouted to Utah. And PJ Tucker, whom the Jazz acquired over the weekend, is going to Miami. So Tucker played for the Heat during the 2021-2022 season. So
played great for him, yeah.
That's pretty much the latest. So here's the thing about the Jimmy Butler thing. I was watching Warrior Postgame a few weeks ago, and Chris Mullin's like, I don't like the fit because Jimmy Butler plays a lot of iso ball, and the Warriors, pass and cut and ball movement, body movement, and he didn't see it as a fit. He said
that tonight, by the way, too. Like, after the news was announced, he repeated those sentiments. I just wanted to add that because I heard that tonight.
Yeah, so that's, from Chris, who obviously knows the game cold. He's a Dream Team member. Butler, though, is a 6-time All-Star, and he's been really pouting this year because he's wanted that big money extension from the Heat, and the Heat didn't want to give it to him. The assumption was the Warriors didn't either. And then there was a report within 48 hours that Butler said that he would not sign an extension with the Warriors, which killed the deal. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to know how this deal went from he won't sign an extension with the Warriors to he will sign an extension with the Warriors. And did the Warriors change their tune on offering said extension as the desperation set in with the trade deadline, looming and them striking out on KD because KD said, I don't want to go back to the Warriors. How do you think this thing came together, Cy?
Well, I think, first of all, when it comes to trade deadline madness, don't believe anything you read. I stopped pretending anything was true about a week ago for reasons like this. Like the Jimmy Butler report you mentioned where he said that he wasn't going to sign an extension with the Warriors. And then, of course, he did. And now, granted, it was not the extension I think you and I feared. I certainly feared a 4-year extension. I was really worried that that's what it was going to come to. And I'm like, you're not, what are you thinking if you're going to do that? But a 2-year extension, you can easily stomach. Jimmy Butler will turn 36 at the start of next season. So you're talking 36-year-old Jimmy, 37-year-old Jimmy making that money. Still a little sketchy, but, Stephen Curry's that age, making even more. Different players, clearly, but Jimmy Butler is a star, man. He is a superstar, like you said. And look, so going back to the report real fast with the long-term deal, Brian Windhorst reported that it could have been a leverage play on Jimmy Butler's part just to elicit some more attention, to give the Warriors some more incentive to maybe try harder. Could have been a bullshit report. Who knows? Again, I stopped listening when it comes to the trade stuff. We're about a week or two out because it starts getting ridiculous. With all that said, again, it's not a super long commitment. You gave up very little to finally get that second superstar next to Stephen Curry. I love it, dude. I love it. I'm ecstatic. The Warriors, look, this never would have happened in any era before Stephen Curry. The Warriors never got players like this. The Warriors never made moves like this. And this was one of my greatest fears, that the Warriors were fading back into irrelevancy, back into these dark ages where, they have no star power, they have no hope. At least now you've given Stephen Curry a second option that he didn't have previously. You're giving this team a player who has proven that he can carry an entire squad almost on his back to the NBA Finals. And unlike the Miami Heat, I think he has a better team here. So I'm ecstatic, brother. What is your reaction to this? I don't think we've heard that yet.
Well, I mean, personally, I thought it was an impossibility that they could get a happy Jimmy Butler, because I thought the Warriors didn't want to give him a 2-year extension for $55 million a year. And that's exactly what they did. They gave him a 2-year extension for $55 million a year. So they make the trade, and then they make a guy who is great when he's happy and awful when he's not happy. They made him happy. So now you're getting a happy Jimmy Butler. So, from that standpoint, then it's more about, okay, who is he as a player? He's a 6-time All-Star. He had averaged 17 and 5 and 4 per game on 54% from the field, 36% from three, 80% from the foul line in 25 games for the Heat this year. So, and so all the problems the Heat had, I would imagine, go away. I mean, they had to suspend him 3 different times. I'm sure if you ask people in Miami, they're probably like, dude, good riddance. My God, that was like, giving birth trying to get rid of this guy. Oh my God. He was such a dark cloud, and we had to suspend him 3 times and this and that, all because we wouldn't give him some big money extension. He became just an island unto himself, so I don't really respect any of that. I got to be honest. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, I totally respect guys who do that kind of crap. I don't really respect that, but that's how he played his cards. For the Warriors, I think I've been saying for the longest time, it's like, when the last couple of years they wanted to move Andrew Wiggins, but they couldn't move him because he wasn't playing well enough and nobody wanted him.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, you know what? I know the way this is going to go. He's either going to come out next year and he's not going to play well, and the Warriors are going to want to move him and he'll be totally immovable and they'll have to attach all these other assets to move him, or he's going to play well, and then a bunch of you people are going to decide that you don't want to move him at all. And that's exactly what happened. He came out, he played well, and I was like, get rid of him, change the scenery, get rid of him, change the scenery. And tons of Warrior people were like, no, man, we love two-way Wiggs, and we can't move him. He's playing too well. And it's like, Jesus. I mean, if you can't move a guy when he's going well, and you can't move a guy when he's not going well, how do you move a guy ever? So yeah, I was so worried that the Warriors were going to once again fall in love with Andrew Wiggins, who's just such a overly relaxed, totally, he's a relaxed, laid back dude, which probably is why people like him, but it's also why his basketball is not that great, because he's a relaxed, laid back dude, and he just lets things kind of happen, and he doesn't play with a lot of force. He's a really athletic guy who can beat anybody off the dribble and get to the front of the rim. He can guard lots of different positions, so he's very valuable as an on-the-ball defender. I don't know if they lost a good defender in Wiggins, but the bottom line is he needed a change of scenery, and everybody who knows the Warriors cap knows that it was going to be easier for them to. He was always going to be the guy. It was going to be easier to move in any kind of a pursuit of a big name guy than Steph or Draymond, and those are the only other guys who really make a lot of money. So it was going to have to be Wiggins. I think everybody knew that. It wasn't personal. It's business. You got to match contracts, so on and so forth. The Warriors have been trying to get this Batman to this Robin to Steph being Batman. In reality, now they actually need a Batman to Steph, because Steph's more of a Robin at this point and now needs somebody to lead. I was hoping it would be Zion Williamson and somebody who's more like in their 20s. But no, the Warriors are all about like right here and right now. And I don't think it's going to work. but it will be entertaining. I still think they get bounced in the second round of the playoffs. But I guess today I would say they have a better chance of reaching the conference finals than they did yesterday. If you can be satisfied with that, then yeah, I don't think I would give them a remote chance to win the NBA title, even with Jimmy Butler. But I'm rooting for him. I'll be rooting for it. I know Jimmy Butler will show up in the playoffs and be an alpha and play really, really well. The question is, how does he blend? How does he play in this system? Does Steve Kerr, relent on his system, or does Jimmy Butler fall in line and start to play a way that he's never played before? I mean, there's stylistic differences here that are significant enough, and I don't really believe that Jimmy Butler is this player that can play any kind of way, any kind of, he is who he is. So we'll see. I mean, they're more interesting now. They're more they're tougher now. They're also more volatile now. I think it's a harder team to coach for Kerr, but because these guys are all volatile. Because Draymond Green is an alpha, and Jimmy Butler's an alpha, and Jimmy plays a lot of ISO ball, and Kerr loves a lot of pass and cut, and we'll see. I mean, you've got shortens his bench a little bit, so it makes his rotation a little easier. Probably makes some decisions easier, but it makes it's still it's a more volatile room than it was yesterday, with greater stakes and greater pressure. So it's going to be a good show, but that's the truth, and I'm into telling the truth. The stakes are greater, but the volatility in the room is way greater, and we'll see if they can make it all come together. If they can make it all come together, I would give them a puncher's chance at achieving their goal, but no more than that.
I love the move for a lot of reasons. I mean, this team was approaching unwatchability. They were becoming uninteresting. They were on a fast track to irrelevancy. To do nothing would have been a cataclysmic decision. So for the people who are really disappointed that Wiggins is gone, they had very limited options. Wiggins' salary slot is why he was a prime target, not necessarily who he is himself as a player, because even with the good season Andrew Wiggins was having this year, he was still borderline uncoveted. Like, it wasn't like there was demand for him from other teams for a trade. I mean, so if Andrew Wiggins was really this great player, you would have had other teams approaching the Warriors the same way about Wiggins that they do about Jonathan Kuminga. And he doesn't do that. The locker room, this team, from my observation, 95% of everything that's going to be said here today between us, between the chat, is going to be subjective. It's going to be our takes or opinions based largely on our observation skills. And look, you and I, Larry, you've been watching hoops for, I don't know what your earliest childhood memories of basketball are, but I'm guessing you're pushing 50 years of observing basketball. I'm probably around 40 years of watching basketball. Some people in the chat maybe even exceed us. The point is, there's a lot of experience here in terms of watching basketball and observing it and flipping it around and providing these opinions. So from what I see, the Warriors had grown way too comfortable. You had a team that loved each other. The chemistry has never been an issue, but it kept resulting in 500 basketball. So this complacency that had emerged was not going to result in winning basketball. Joe Lacob had given and had acquiesced to Steve Kerr's demands when it comes to this roster for 2+ years. Ramona Shelburne reported everything I'd broken on Golden Days about a year later, but better. I'm glad that it's out there now in print, in that this conflict was very real. It's why Bob Myers decided ultimately he's out, or why he was forced out, because Myers had a plan. Steve Kerr had a different plan. It didn't mesh. And so Bob Myers is living his life now. Congratulations to him. And Joe Lacob, whether it's because of the relationship he had with Steve Kerr or maybe he trusted Steve Kerr too much, whatever the reasoning was, he continually acquiesced to what Steve Kerr envisioned as being his perfect team. The final straw was Dennis Schroeder, clearly, because no GM, no owner in their right mind is going to pretend that the world's yes, because when I say NBA, it is the world's best talent. That the NBA's best, smallest team was going to magically get better by adding a 6'1" guard. Like no one in their right mind outside of Steve Kerr was thinking that. It didn't work. Wiggins' stay there was way longer than the front office wanted because of Steve Kerr. The results were not showing. And so this was a move conducted largely by the front office. We've talked about this for months now. We broke this story on Golden Days that the Jimmy Butler piece specifically was a Mike Dunleavy Jr. Project. Like, it was his pursuit because they played together in Chicago. Mike Dunleavy Jr. knows Jimmy personally. So all of these off-court issues, all of the concerns stemming from his previous stints where he eventually forced himself out of Chicago, Minnesota, Philly, Miami, regardless of where the fault lies, there was no concern of that with the Warriors because their GM, Mike Dunleavy Jr., has a good relationship with Jimmy Butler, and they communicate. They know each other. There's familiarity there. So, and on top of that, you're talking about bringing a guy in, Jimmy Butler, who, yes, contrary to what some people in the chat wrote, is a superstar in this game. The man, again, it was just 2 seasons ago, the Miami Heat had no business knocking the Boston Celtics out of the postseason in those Eastern Conference Finals the year after the Warriors won the championship. Yet they did that for it because entirely of Jimmy Butler. Yes, Bam Adebayo was on that team. Yeah, they had some other pieces. That was a Jimmy Butler production. Do not forget what he did in that playoff run, and do not pretend for even a second that the Warriors are not getting an angry, motivated, ready to catch the world on fire and win his first championship, Jimmy Butler. That's the version they're getting. That's why I'm super excited about this. I'm also not going to pretend tonight's game meant much because the Warriors were so decimated between emotional drain, between having a lack of bodies. I mean, there were G Leaguers playing out there all night. Doesn't change the fact that blowing that loss tonight was brutal. They were up by 11 with 3 minutes to play and lost in their league-leading 31st clutch game. I think they're tied with the Timberwolves in that category. But when Jimmy Butler shows up, I don't know if it's going to be Saturday. I can't imagine tomorrow will be the debut. The Warriors now have a second scorer, which they never previously had. They have someone who, in these tense, tight moments when opposing teams are so focused on Stephen Curry, now you give the ball to Jimmy Butler, and now he is collapsing that paint with his penetration. He is one of the best rim attackers in the game. And now you're going to have him and Jonathan Kuminga, who's coming back soon. Those two will give Stephen Curry so much space. There's still time for another move to come. Like, the Nikola Vucevic idea is still out there. The Warriors still have GP2 and Looney's contracts as pieces to go get Vucevic. But even if they don't, this team now is set up where Stephen Curry finally has some real help. And for all the people who are just dissuaded, disappointed, who are skeptical, cynical about this deal, I'm telling you, man, a few weeks from now, a month from now, especially in April when the pro season starts, we're not going to hear any of this. You will all be realizing, oh, damn, this is how the Warriors look when they have a second superstar on their team besides Stephen Curry, because we haven't seen that in a damn long time. We had one exception, one blip to that in 2022 when Wiggins showed up for a brief moment and when Klay Thompson decided to show everyone he still had his prime within him for that last half a season. We're going to see some beautiful basketball coming soon for the Golden State Warriors. Ultimately, though, they need a change. The change had to come. I know the Kevin Durant idea was the one that people coveted the most, but do not pretend that Jimmy Butler is not going to make a very positive impact for this Golden State Warriors team. I'm all in, brother. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see him on the court, especially with Kuminga almost ready to come back and play as well. We're going to see some exciting basketball, and we're going to see some winning basketball. And you folks will be telling me you were right, Cy, like it always happens, because Jimmy Butler's good. He is not a bad player. I know he's 35, but he doesn't have a shitload of mileage on those tires like a lot of other players at 35 do. He's still at his physical peak. I am stoked on this, man. So excited to see Jimmy play.
What was the KD package going to be? Do you know?
No, because I don't look, the KD thing I think was 99% smoke. I really do, man. Like the moment we actually got a comment from Kevin Durant, and we all heard this morning. It came right after Damon and I and Mark Medina were recording this morning, where he came out and said, "I don't want to go there," which is such a shot, man. I don't even know why he had to say that, but He did. I think he was mostly smoke, dude. I don't think that was going anywhere for the simple reason that every time these trade discussions came up, when it came to the Phoenix part of it, the question that no one was answering was, why would Phoenix do this? Like, Phoenix was not getting anything back that would make their team better. Like, Jimmy Butler to Phoenix sounded great if Durant was also there, but the only way to make that happen was trading Kevin Durant. Bradley Beal is holding that franchise hostage. Again, that's the consequence of trading for him. You guys effed up. You traded for Bradley Beal, a guy with a no trade clause in his contract. Only other guy that has it is LeBron James. Even Stephen Curry doesn't have one. You screwed up. You're now paying the price for that. You're stuck with your team while the Warriors got Jimmy Butler. But I think that was 90.
I do find this time of the year really, really entertaining. Why? Because, for example, if you said to me, who's the best young player on the Warriors? I wouldn't even hesitate. I would say Jonathan Kuminga.
Easily.
Okay. And I'm satisfied that Jonathan Kuminga has gotten a lot better from 19 to 22. But in the last 24 hours, when a lot of Warrior fans thought that they were all in on KD and that Kuminga was going to be part of a package, so many of you took to social media and trashed Jonathan Kuminga. Seriously, all you guys, man.
I retweeted you right away. I agreed with you 1,000%.
That is so pathetic, because guess what? This guy is going to get better, and he's going to get better, and he's going to get better. And has Kerr been like, Willie Shoemaker in a Triple Crown race with Jonathan Kuminga? No. He is totally effed it up. Moses Moody hasn't developed. Pajemski's barely developed. The young players have not really developed. So, yeah, is it partially Kuminga a little frustrating because he hasn't developed exactly the speed we want? Yeah, but, Kerr deserves some of that blame.
A lot of
absolutely.
The blame.
I mean, there was an awful lot of Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome's, and I did a lot of those post-game shows sitting there. So I just wanted to mention, because so many people and so many of my friends over at 95.7 who were so all in, convinced, hook, line, and sinker that KD was coming back. Not once did any of them ask themselves, does KD even like Joe Lacob? Does KD even like Draymond Green? Does KD even like Warrior fans? Does KD even like Steve Kerr? Does KD even want to be a Warrior? And I was very skeptical. When I heard him as a target initially, I was like, dude, did nobody pay attention about how it all ended here? That, he was here. He clearly didn't want to be here anymore. He wanted to move on. Heck, he was smiling as he went and played for the Brooklyn Nets and watched the Warriors win a title. He was smiling the entire time. He didn't look like he missed them at all. And then he forced his way to Phoenix. My whole point is just not to say anything other than I did not want, and I expressed it yesterday on Twitter, if they had traded 22-year-old Jonathan Kuminga for 36-year-old Kevin Durant, who I really didn't think wanted to be here, and found out I was right, he didn't want to be here, that would have been worthy of me just not being a Warrior fan anymore. I don't want to support that. I wouldn't have supported it. I would have boycotted the Warriors, because you don't trade. You already did that with Jordan. You only have one move like that. You screwed up. You gave Jordan Poole too much money, and you pulled the safety hatch and the escape hatch, and you traded him for Chris Paul, and then you let Chris Paul walk, and you basically just a loss in 1 year. It's like, how to lose a valuable asset in 1 year by Joe Lacob. All right, there you go. That's what you did. That's what they did. If they tried to come back and do it again, oh my God, I would have absolutely lost my S. If they were going to relinquish a talent like Jonathan Kuminga at age 22 for the whim of today and Kevin Durant, I was going to absolutely lose it. So you know what? I'm glad this trade is way more palatable. Why? Because Wiggins needed a change of scenery for 2.5 years.
Yes.
Right? He had a great finals against the Celtics, and the Warriors been trying to hawk his ass for a long, long time. And the fact that they moved him and got a better player, and they moved a bunch of nobodies, and I can't stand watching slow-mo. Thank you, Dunleavy, for kissing off slow-mo. My God. It's pro sports. Make it be entertaining.
Yes.
And to add Jimmy Butler, and then to sit there and now you've got a guy who's a playoff dog. All right. And the only real question is, hey, Steve, can you keep it together?
Yeah.
Can you keep it together? Can you bring a guy who doesn't play your style into your situation and keep it together? And keep him and Draymond from killing each other and just keep the train on the tracks, because if they can, and to me, I know today, and I'll see one last thing, and I'll throw it back to you. I know today there's a big you know what? They don't need to make any other moves. Don't think like that. Because if you really want to go after this thing, you need Nikola Vucevic. Nikola Vucevic is 20-10, and he's an efficient 20-10.
Yeah.
You took Wiggins away and some role players. You added Jimmy Butler. I think generally you're going to win that trade, but if you can trade a couple of seconds and some expirings for a Vucevic, I think that is the kind of move that could maybe vault you into the conference finals, maybe vault you into the finals, and then the whole kind of thing is justified. You know what I'm saying? So even though right now, today, they don't need to do anything, they just made a major addition, a bunch of changes, and they're just getting used to that. The deadline is tomorrow, and Vucevic is a 20-10 former All-Star who gives you something that you don't have. I mean, I love Quentin Post, but why do I love Quentin Post? Because he is the kind of piece that they need to find. But Vucevic is Quentin Post in 3, 4, 5 years. You know, he actually, let's be honest, Quentin Post is never going to be as good as Vucevic. But you know what I'm saying?
You never know, though. You never know.
He's Vucevic. Vucevic is efficient and 20-10 right now. He's an awesome player. He really is. And if you put him on this team with Steph and Butler and Draymond, and now you get Kuminga back, you keep Pajemski, now you've got the makings of a team that probably can run with the best teams in the West and probably can make a run. So I kind of think Vucevic, if you really want to go to the finals and justify this whole thing, you got to go out and get Vucevic and make it work, man. Couple twos and, Looney, and this is going to be tough for Kerr, but I hope Joe forces this on Kerr because we know how much he loves Looney. And Looney's a great guy, but he's kind of a
GP2.
dead-bodied guy.
That would be the other piece, is GP2. It would be Looney and GP2. And
it has to be?
Well, I mean, because you consider GP2 makes $8 million a year, and he's on an expiry.
Isn't there somebody else? Couldn't it be somebody else with Looney?
Because Vucevic makes, I think, what, 20?
20.
So if you aggregate,
it could be Moody, right?
Looney and GP2, that's 16 right there. I just don't know what else you can do if you want to make that move. Because you'd still have to add a third piece, and I don't know if that means Moses Moody's out. Don't be surprised if that's what happens. But yeah, you would probably, unless you can magically convince the Chicago Bulls to take Buddy Hield's contract. That's probably what you're gonna have to do. Yeah, and I'd still do it.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather hold on to Peyton since he's a great defender and has been impactful at times? Would you rather keep Peyton and trade a future first, or hold to the second and trade Hield?
Oh, I trade Hield easily. I mean, Buddy Hield to me is dude. He sucks. He had a good first month, and he's shooting.
Let's say they want Hield. Let's say they want Hield in the 1, or they'll take the other guy in the 2. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see. I'd probably still go with Hield in the 1, and a huge reason for that is the way the Warriors have been set up, especially with this Butler trade. They're not planning on being a shitty team for at least another year. So you're not going to be, and even then the top 10 picks are protected regardless. You can't trade the next two, but I would absolutely trade protected first and Buddy Hield. Just because Larry, this stat is insane. Since December 1st, we're now in February. It's February 5th right now. It's about to be the 6th. Buddy Hield has shot below 30% from three. Below. Like, figure your shit out, man. Like that's bad. And he's been getting a huge pass in that regard. So if you can trade Buddy, you absolutely do that. But I think GP2 is the more likely one if you're going to make another deal. And by the way, speaking of Vucevic, or a center, there's another a trade that just broke about a few minutes ago. Shams Charania reporting this 5 minutes ago that the Lakers have made another move. And this is a weird one, man. I think the Lakers got worse from this, and I'll love to get your take. The Lakers have traded Dalton Connect, who has been a very promising rookie for him. Cam Reddish, who cares? A 2031 unprotected first-round pick, which they've been treasuring and protecting, and they traded all that and a 2030 pick swap to the Charlotte Hornets for Mark Williams.
The center?
Like way too much.
The Duke kid?
Yes.
That's that's a lot for a young big man.
That's a lot, dude. I would not have made that trade. I would not have made that trade. I don't know if that's a money deal. I don't. That's perplexing to me. But the point is that the Lakers just got bigger. So I could understand the Warriors maybe making one more move to add some size of their own, especially when you consider, Larry, if you add Nikola Vucevic, your death lineup suddenly becomes daunting. You're talking about Stephen Curry, Kuminga, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Nikola Vucevic. I would take that five against anybody. Sign me up, man. Like, so I'm with you. I feel like there's one piece missing if they don't sign Vucevic. I don't know who that fifth guy is in terms of your closing lineup otherwise, but I'm all in, man. I hope that does happen.
It's interesting. The Warriors were basically a 500 team, this year with Andrew Wiggins. And I just, I didn't think they were a contender at all. And, now they make this trade, they get Butler. But then it's like they don't just get Butler. They also are smart enough to understand the dynamic, which is it isn't worth trading for Jimmy Butler if you can't extend him. It's a two-step, right? It's not a one-step. Yeah, you can trade for him, but if you're going to have anything that's worthy of having, you got to extend him, and they did that. So, I guess, but a bunch of pieces moved. Will there be other roster additions that are coming up here now to account for the number of guys departing? I mean,
that's a great question.
Who are these who's going to fill in the rest of this roster with the guys? Because they traded what, 5 guys, and they only added one, right?
Well, that's a great question, and I don't know if the website I normally use for all my salary cap information, I'm going to it right now if they've updated their page, because what I was thinking is does this deal give the Warriors enough space to promote Kevin Knox, who's been playing for him for the G League team Santa Cruz, and he's been killing it, dude. Like,
I like him. He's kind of rugged, former first-round pick.
Correct. Former, I believe, lottery pick, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been killing it. He's not eligible for a two-way deal. What I'm looking at right now in terms of the Warriors situation is, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is if they're going to have the space to add him, because that might be the final piece that they're interested in. I don't have the current numbers. Well, here we go. I guess right now, if these numbers are correct, the Warriors right now are at 175 for their salary. So I think they actually saved $4 million after everything was said and done with these trades. If that's true, please don't quote me on this yet. This is all just really recent research, and this could change. But if I have my math correct, I think the Warriors now have enough to promote Kevin Knox, to give Quinn Post a guaranteed contract. So that might be the move. You guarantee Pat Spencer. Side note, I love that kid, dude. Like, dude,
how about the one-hand jam for Spencer tonight?
He looks good. And so you could give him like either a two-way deal or guarantee him. They might just keep it in-house and promote Kevin Knox, who's a big. I mean, he, by the Warriors standards especially,
6'8".
he's a big. So that's part of me is wondering if the move today was also keeping that in mind to give Kevin Knox a deal. But I'm telling you, man, look, Larry, going back to the Jonathan Kuminga thing, because you're right. There are a lot of fans that
shame on you fans, because you know what? A lot of you guys thought Kuminga was going in a trade for KD. And there's an awful lot of you. And believe me, I've read it. I mean, some of my friends, a Bay Area baller was ripping Kuminga, and there's all these people saying Kuminga can't do it, and Kuminga this, Kuminga that. All right, just remember, you're ripping the hell out of a 22-year-old player who is, really, really athletic. So the odds that you're going to look like an absolute idiot on the back end if you ripped him severely are pretty high. So all I would say is get out your delete tweet button, and you may want to drop a few of those tweets because people in Warrior Land crapped on Kuminga, and he's an awesome young talent, man. He is, and I realize people are a little frustrated. He has been a little inconsistent and this and that. This guy came from a different planet, a different world. This guy moved away from his parents like 15.
Correct.
He's had an unbelievable trek from where he grew up to where he is today. And I'll say this, man, that is one of the most athletic players in the whole league, which is why I didn't want to see him traded, which is also why all these teams kept wanting him. It's because he's got major athleticism and upside. And I realize it hasn't come at the exact pace or rate that all these Warrior fans want. But shame on you people, because you guys took to social media and crapped all over an enormous talent, and the odds are that's going to look bad in a few years.
Well, yeah, and just there's a lot to break down there, and I love that you said that, largely because a lot of these people who, again, were just totally shitting on Kuminga call themselves Warriors fans, and right. I've been responding to them like, if you're a Warriors fan, why are you so down on a lottery pick with massive upside?
Who's a great guy?
He's shown glimpses of greatness, but here's the part and here's one of the biggest reasons
I should bust out some of the quotes, because some of these people are like, he doesn't know how to play. He's never going to know how to play. He's a waste of space and all that. What's like what, dude? He's the most athletic. He's probably the most athletic player in the league. A couple years ago, he either shot the three and it was ugly, or he attacked the rim. Now his shot is way softer, and he can attack the rim. But guess what? If on the way to the rim he sees TJD hanging out for an alley-oop, he now can throw the alley-oop and does. So there's way more growth in his game than people ever give him credit for. And I can't wait to see, now that they added a big-time athlete. This team just got a big-time dog athlete in Jimmy Butler, but a guy who also really knows how to play. I want to see what Kuminga looks like with Butler.
Well, I also want to see Kuminga, what he looks like in an entire season where he actually plays real minutes. The entire reason why I always push back against people who pretend that he's not it because he's been inconsistent so far. Look at the minutes. His rookie season, he averaged 16.9 minutes. For a number 7 pick, that's ridiculously low. Granted, they won a championship that year, so you can forgive that. Bob Myers in year 2 envisioned Kuminga and Moody having much bigger roles, being primary bench players, and that experience would have in turn given them the development that they needed, but they didn't get that. Kuminga in year 2 averaged 20.8 minutes per game. Kuminga in year 3 averaged 26.4 minutes per game. Kuminga currently is still averaging 26 minutes per game. You bring up any other name in the NBA. Give me any name. I don't care who it is, who is a lottery pick and who has made it. None of them have been screwed over in minutes like that. A lot of people bring up Franz Wagner, for example, right, as a player that the Warriors whiffed on by not drafting and going with Kuminga instead. Franz Wagner, every season of his career, has averaged at least 30 minutes a game, at least. And his rookie season, in those 30 minutes of play, just in case you're thinking, oh, well, he must have been playing so great to get those 30 minutes a game. No, his rookie year, he scored 15.2 points per game, and he shot 35% from deep. That's not great. That's okay. That's what rookies do. His second year, averaged 32.6 minutes per game. Still was putting up just 18.6 points per game. His third year, he was shooting 28% from three. My point is, you got to give these young players time so they can play out there and gain the experience they need to become consistent and good. If Kuminga had been getting 30-plus minutes a game since year two, the version we'd be seeing now, none of us knows for sure, but I'm going to guess it would be at it'd be far more advanced in terms of skill than what we're seeing now. This kid has never gotten the shot that every other lottery pick gets, and it's absurd. It's a gross mistreatment of how you're supposed to develop rookies. And again, December, we had a sample size of 30-plus minutes. First time in his career, we have an actual month where 13 games where he averaged 30 minutes or more a game, puts up 21 points a game, puts up 6.3 rebounds per game. His three-point shooting improved to 35% plus. I think I still see great things for this kid, but the bottom line is, do not pretend that you can judge him as an individual and as a player when he's never got any consistent run. There's no way to properly analyze a player like that. And hopefully we're going to start seeing it, Larry.
Listen to this. OMG, Larry only highlights whatever benefits him. Doesn't pay attention to paid chats. No, I pay attention to paid chats, but it's some shows we only get a few, so I don't want to focus on it. Other shows we get tons, and I have to get to them early. But we do have 12 here. Cool. By the way, Sports Fantasy, Larry is the OG in the game. Kev as well. Thank you. All right, here we go. Let's go to some supers. Kev F. So much for perfect preseason. Hawaii 12-2 start. Yeah, exactly. They got off to this incredible start, and then it all just went poof.
I'm telling you, you're going to see things turn around. Like once Jimmy Butler's settled and Kuminga comes back, get ready for great things. I'm telling you, man. Like,
well, that's gonna be fun to watch. Either way, it'll be fun to watch. I mean, yes. I don't think they're going to win the title, but let's see. That's the beauty of it. I mean, I'll say this: they're infinitely more entertaining and more interesting going forward, especially if they can do something else of significance before the deadline tomorrow, or in the buyout, or with the rest of the roster. So I'm eager to see what this thing looks like. I was going to be really eager to see if they moved like Draymond or something like that, because there was a lot of talk about that. But I'm kind of glad they didn't, because to me, he's a Warrior, and he should always be a Warrior. Billy DeBono,
to it, especially when Anthony Davis got traded. My thought process was, look, man, I mean, teams are going all in. If Draymond is the piece that would make the difference, so be it. I've been coming around to the idea, but I'm also with you. I'm glad they ultimately did not, because he brings so much to the table this team needs.
It's trashy. I mean, stick with he's your guy, man. He's your guy. I mean, so, KD basically flipped the Warriors the bird. Draymond called him out for it, and then KD bailed. You won the title without KD, and then in some 11th hour, as you're trying desperately to get Steph another ring, you trade Draymond and some package to the Suns for KD. That's super cheesy, man. Let's just say this. History would not have recalled that well. I'll just say that. I think history would have said, oh, man, they were desperate. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. Billy DeBono is all in on Jimmy Butler. It's a win-now move. Nothing would make me happier if Curry ended his career with 5 rings, putting LeBron in the dust with his 4. Just to get by LeBron, it would be nice. I'd be all for that.
Once. And look, and again, Larry,
I'm glad they didn't get LeBron. That was another rumor I was
real fast. I don't know, Larry,
about.
Real fast. Jimmy Butler could be the difference in terms of getting past LeBron. The Warriors have never had anyone who can match up with them. That's one of the many reasons why I was never glued and so attached to Wiggins like other people are, man. We've seen the sample sizes in the postseason of those matchups. LeBron eats Wiggins up. Jimmy Butler's a different story, dude. I'm very much looking forward to that matchup. And the fact that Butler now gives the Warriors a shot, a guy who can match up with LeBron James, man, in terms of physicality, mental toughness, I'm all in, dude.
It's funny. It's very controversial because I agree with you. I think Jimmy Butler is an upgrade from Wiggins, but there's a lot of people that feel that he's a downgrade from Wiggins. That Wiggins is the better player at this point, that Wiggins can do more, that Wiggins has got a better all-around game than Jimmy Butler. He's definitely younger.
What has that resulted in? What I keep telling people is I get the emotional attachment. It's a flaw of human nature, man. Like sentimentality, nostalgia oftentimes holds people back from making important, prudent decisions. And especially in a competitive situation, organization and whatnot, like the NBA, you have to adapt. You have to evolve constantly and improve. What were the Warriors doing with Wiggins as their second best player? They're a 500 team. They were not going to do anything with them. This would have been the ugliest remaining 2-3 months of the NBA season if they'd done nothing. It would have been unwatchable basketball. It would have been depressing. I don't know why people are holding on other than just a human nature thing of having difficulties letting go. Although I don't remember people holding on like this when Harrison Barnes left. Harrison Barnes to me was very similar in terms of roles, in terms of importance.
He had a high-profile playoff flameout.
Yeah, but 2015 he was still important, man. Like the Warriors don't win that title.
But we remember in the finals how he just evaporated. I mean, he just could not make a shot.
2016 he did. 2015 he did not. 2015 he actually played good D on LeBron. 2015 he made some clutch baskets. You're right about 2016.
I love the guy personally. The Black Falcon. I mean, he was incredible. The Senator.
Yeah.
He came in studio with me and G-Rad, and we went to a Giants game, and I think I sat right behind him and his little sister. He brought his little sister. Harrison Barnes is just awesome, man. I've always been a Harrison Barnes. Forget the player and this and that. Just as a guy, I think Harrison Barnes is one of the best people I've ever met covering sports. I think he's that good of a guy.
Some people in the chat, like for example, Kai, who I know you loved, Andrew Wiggins, but he writes in the chat that Wiggins was the second best player in a championship team. He was the second best player in that postseason. Take that.
He was. He's not that player anymore.
He wasn't
He doesn't even do the same things anymore.
No. And one other thing, this is very different from 2022. The Warriors got away with Wiggins as your second best player in that season because Steph was still Steph. I'm not saying Steph is like diminished entirely, but he's not the same guy. Steph needs more help. And if Wiggins is the same guy as 2022, hypothetically, in reality, he was not, that's not enough. It's not enough anymore, man. They have to do better. They have to improve. I'm so glad they did this, man. Like, oof.
We got another one here from Stephen C. Warriors might trade for Drew Peacock from Indiana. Who the hell's Drew Peacock?
Never heard of him. Is that a joke?
That's such a bullshit name. Drew Peacock. Dude, what do you think this is, dude? Do you think we don't know basketball? You think we're just, Drew Peacock. I think Drew Peacock could be on the move.
I've never heard of this guy, dude.
I don't even think he exists.
Drew Peacock.
It's not. It can't be. It's
not a real person. I don't see anything. Was that a spelling error? Like, I mean,
he might have called him something different. He might have called him something different.
Drew.
I'm looking at the roster just to see. Thought maybe it was confusing with somebody else.
I don't know what that's about.
There is no Drew Peacock. Freaking moron, dude. Seriously, I don't know what show you think this is, but Cy and I are real ones. All right. I mean, seriously. I mean, I can discuss the career arc of Svi Mihailuk. So you're going to try to bust Drew Peacock by me. It's going to take a little something better.
Well, and someone in the chat just enlightened me because that went over my head. My bad. Peacock. Craig Ross. Larry, did you get it?
No.
Drew Peacock. Drew P.
Yeah. That's great.
That was a dumb one.
IP freely. See more butts.
You could have done better.
Come
man.
on, Steve. Steve, seriously.
Come on, man.
Come on, bro. I just give you a Steve Young, bro. That's all. just a straight Steve Young reaction, bro.
Mike Hunt.
Yeah.
Side note, I have a friend, Liz Hunt from college, who actually has a brother named Michael. True story,
Great.
man. It's insane the name some people give people. Yeah, his name was Michael Hunt.
Hopefully, he gets lost in a he gets lost in an airport and somebody White courtesy telephones him. Pete Gregory says Butler equals Kuminga to the bench. Sign him means a $300 million tax.
What?
He's saying
No.
to sign
No.
Kuminga. He says Butler's going to send Kuminga to the bench because they both play the small forward. Kuminga's kind of a 3-4. Butler's more of a 2-3, isn't he not?
If anything, this decision just means that the Warriors are going to double down on their belief on moving forward with Jonathan Kuminga as a focal point of this team, man. I mean,
they should.
He's good. If they're
they
going to
should
trade
just
him,
keep
they wouldn't trade him now.
Pay him. My gosh. I realize it's going to take a lot of money, but this guy is super athletic. Let him, he's 22.
He's
guy's lived away from his parents since he was 14. Let's give this guy a break. This guy's
have you seen he has three younger brothers, Larry? All of those brothers could also play in the NBA. Like they're going through the same upbringing Kuminga did. So I know Kuminga's like no stranger to professional basketball. He has I think an uncle or a cousin who played either in the NBA or in some professional league in Europe. So he's got a lineage there, man. There's a lot of basketball experience in the family, and he's got the genetics. The low IQ thing drives me crazy. Like you're basing that on what? Your own opinion? Okay, thanks. Like, but there's no measurement for that. Like if he was averaging 3 turnovers a game, all right, you got a piece of evidence there. But dude, he's a great ball handler.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to say somebody's a jackass and you want to point to like J.R. Smith or something like that, and you have like evidence of this guy just losing his mind in the middle of the game, like a finals game. Yeah, okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. But don't tell me, about Jonathan Kuminga, who I've watched develop, and he's getting better and better. And to me, if he's been on a team where a guy that talented would go to a team that was motivated to develop him. On this team, the motivation to develop Jonathan Kuminga was like Kerr's like 19th objective of the season. It's not a priority, and you can tell hasn't been a priority. And the whole flirtation with Jerome and Lamb and the wasting of minutes on Jerome and Lamb has cost Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga development. They would be better than they are. So the answer is not get rid of them, so they can flourish somewhere else. The answer is find some minutes and figure out a way to connect to them. Armando, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say the young pieces are also like you're starting to see signs that there's something real there. Like Moses Moody this season is shooting over 40% from 3. Brandon Pajemski tonight, 29
Great
points.
Night.
Yeah, a career high 17 first half points. He's coming around, man. I like the young pieces.
Well, and Pajemski, the one thing about Pajemski, he knows how to play. You know what I mean? So he does. So that from that perspective, I think Kerr probably enjoys playing Pajemski. But I mean, once again, he shot 10 threes tonight, and he made 3 of them. So he's got to get that. If his shot could come along a little bit, I mean, I think because he's a terrific rebounder with a good feel for how to play with others. So I mean, there's a lot of different roles you can put him in because he does rebound and he plays hard, but he doesn't have a ton of defensive chops. He's not, he can't finish in the trees. So he's got to shoot the 3 ball at, 35% or higher, I would say for sure. If he could get to 45%, that would be awesome.
Hell yeah.
But I mean,
it's getting better. He had an awful start. He got hit in the face like 4 times tonight. That was so dirty. That was pissing me off. The refereeing tonight, the officiating, I'm sorry, it was awful. I don't know what your thoughts were on that, but Stephen Curry brings this up ad nauseum, and rightfully so, that he does not get the superstar treatment. And Stephen Curry should have had much more than 2 free throw attempts tonight. That was absurd. But
yeah, there were a couple calls that really, it's like, come on. But Steph doesn't sell it. Some of these guys really do sell it. And the NBA officials, let's just say this. There's a reason why guys sell fouls so much in the NBA, because it works. Yeah. Because the NBA officials buy into it. That's why they do it. Armando Lara says, is Jimmy going to play the 2 and make the Warriors big, or the 3 and give them kind of a 3-guard look?
Armando, by the way, a professor at UC Berkeley. He now has a Substack writing about the Warriors. I encourage him to do that because it's one of the best ways to get known in this media game. So props to Armando. I just want to give him a shout out.
So he's behind. So Armando today is free to all of you, but he is normally exclusive and behind a paywall, is what you're saying.
No. It's a free Substack. It's a free Substack.
Oh, it's a free Substack. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if he makes it big,
I thought this guy was like Mark Stein or something.
Yeah, same platform, but I think the pay to read is optional and it's free. Thank goodness. I don't know. I'll let you go first, Larry. Like Jimmy. I mean, to me, the Warriors are barely even recognized positions. I mean, Moses Moody was asked about that a couple weeks ago or a week ago. Like, how do you feel about playing the 4? And his response was, I mean, have you seen this team? Like 2 through 4 is the same.
Well, I mean, it's all about matchups. I mean, it sounds boring as hell to say that, but that's the truth. I mean, if we, I could give you some long-worded, ridiculous answer, but I know, Cy knows, and Armando Lara from Berkeley. It's all about matchups, Professor. It's like for you, Professor, it's all about office hours. Excuse me, Professor, when are your office hours? I don't have office hours. I'm like an NBA player. I have no media availability. That would be awesome. You say that to your Berkeley class. Welcome to whatever I'm teaching 1A. I don't have office hours. I'm like an NBA superstar. There's no media availability for me. So I'm not available. So if you have questions, I'm not available. And if you need someone to go to somebody else because I have zero availability to you.
I am not here for you.
I'm an NBA star, and I have no availability. That would be awesome. Just don't even bother. But what if I have a question about the test? Don't. How about that? What if I'm just intellectually curious? Don't be. There you go. Bill M says, boys, do we need a center? Not sure Post is ready. No, I think that should read this way. Boys, we need a center.
Yeah.
I'm sure Post is not ready. I think that's probably how I would phrase that. I like Post, though. I really do. I like the way he moves his feet, and I think he's, you can tell he's mentally engaged. He's not just a big stiff. He can get up and down. I think there's some potential there.
He's got passion, too. He's got some
He's got passion. The ball rolls off his fingertips nicely. He's got a nice, smooth release. I think that over time is going to be a very, very dangerous three-point shooter, shooting big man. But right now, I think he's kind of probably just getting minutes he doesn't deserve.
And Post tonight, 5 of 9 from the field, 0 of 2, unfortunately, from deep. Did grab 7 boards, 10 points in 24 minutes, 45 seconds. He's active, yeah. I like the kid. I really do. I wish they'd been playing sooner, but better late than never, I guess. I also like Jackson Rowe, the two-way player who had to play because of all the trading or the trade, I'm sorry. Jackson Rowe in 13 minutes of play, his first appearance with the Warriors, at least in meaningful minutes, 2 of 3 from deep, and he's got some physicality out there. Scored 6 points, grabbed 6 boards in 13 minutes. But any feedback, any reaction to Jackson Rowe?
No, I mean, I watched him. Mediocre everything as far as athleticism. You know what I mean? He's not like a really long guy. He's not like an incredible handle. Nothing really stood out about his game. But I'll keep watching. And try to give you a better breakdown. But yeah, I watched him tonight, and I thought, man, I don't see anything that's really discerning or really stands out about his game. But sometimes I got to watch more than just a game or two. Yeah. OMG says Curry, Butler, Kuminga, Green, Vucevic. What do you think of that?
That's what I said. I feel like with that lineup, you can compete with anyone. If you don't trade for Vucevic, that fifth spot it's an open. I guess it just goes by matchups, like you said. Like maybe you throw Pods in there, maybe you throw Post, maybe GP2. I don't know. It's Looney. I mean, Looney was the starting center for a championship team. I mean, maybe that's good enough. I don't know, but you got 4 of the 5 pretty much set. I like that.
I mean, look at that though. I mean, Vucevic gives them firepower. That's firepower. Now you've got an offensive and defensive team. I mean, that's a good 5-man team right there, with guys who know how to play. I mean, I'd be very intrigued by that.
Larry, let me ask you this real quickly. Like, you watched this game tonight. The Warriors played the Jazz. They were shorthanded, largely because of the Jimmy Butler trade. Kuminga's still out with the ankle injury. Stephen Curry scored 32 points tonight. He did have that costly turnover And considering the Warriors lost this game at the very end, they lost by 3. You could point to that as being, huge. But my point is, he put up 32 points tonight, 7 assists, was 6 of 18 shooting from 3, which by his standards isn't great. But the point is, he was contributing. What do you think that's going to look like when Jimmy Butler is back, when Kuminga's back? Like, he has had no help for most of the season. Everyone who thinks that his game is diminished to the point where he's just an old man now who can't do it. Wait until Butler actually starts playing with him, dude. You're going to see some numbers that are going to be exquisitely divine. Just wait.
Yeah, I mean, what you have with Steph right now is you have, when you put Kuminga on the floor and you get Jimmy Butler up to speed, those guys have tremendous gravity of their own, and I think what you're going to see is Steph's going to get 3 to 5 more just clean looks per game that he's not getting now. He's just not getting a lot of those clean looks. And it's just going to be like, Jimmy's going to drive in, Kuminga's going to drive in. Teams are going to be thinking a little bit more about those guys attacking the hole, and then they're going to sag in, and the ball's going to cycle out to Steph, and he's going to have all day, and he's going to drain it. So yeah, I think he's such a unique player. But once they get going, once Kuminga and Butler get going, then you're going to realize, wow, you got to really defend these guys. And then I think it's only human nature at that point that a little attention will come off of Steph, and it will create a little bit more space, and he'll just knock those shots down. That's how I see it. HR says, Larry, spitting facts. Fire. Thank you. Thank you for the 5 spot there, HR.
Deserved.
Samir Shetty. Is that another name that if you say it fast?
No. I think that's legit.
I wasn't really sure about Samir Shetty there. But he says Warriors went more ISO heavy when KD came. Why can't they do the same with Jimmy? Yeah, that's true. I mean, the bottom line is KD's ISO was pure, right? Because if you could ISO him at the elbow or whatever, and that shot's just down. As long as KD was inside about 18 feet as a 7-footer, you couldn't even bother his mid-range shot. I mean, that was the part that I thought was so unbelievable about Durant. Even from the first time I ever saw him at University of Texas, I thought, wow, look at the size on this guy and look at the shot. And then I'm thinking nobody can bother that shot the way he shoots it up high like that. And he's 7 feet tall. It just is it's an unbelievable thing. And then his game in the mid-range, by the time he was with the Warriors, was so pure that he could just rise up over you. You couldn't even bother his shot. He was like shooting, like he's like, you're on the 3rd floor and he's like on the 6th floor, and he's just like, hey man, I know you're down there somewhere, but I'm just, you're not bothering me, And it must be a terrible feeling to go up against a guy and be all over him. You're like right there in his grill, but he's 7 feet and you're 6'5", and he's just shooting over you.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
What did you think, by the way? I know this is completely off topic, but what were your thoughts on Dennis Schroeder's comments just a day earlier, where he compared the plight?
No, I don't have thoughts on his comments. I think they're just, other than that, I don't agree. And I don't think that he thought it through, and that's all I would say. But I'm not going to get exercised about it, and I definitely don't want to talk about it. But I just feel like he could not. He's just horribly misguided comments, and just without real perspective on what the heck we're really talking about. It was quite a stretch to make that comparison, and you have to really, really, really think about it. Think about what he said. Think about what he potentially could be getting at. That, to even understand even slightly. And other than that, I just no.
Well, all I wanted to add to that, very eloquently put. I just wanted to add, when you decide as an individual you want to play professional basketball, it's no different than signing up for a job with a company that's going to require you to relocate a lot. It's no different. So when your name is being mentioned in trade speculation, for example, it's akin to working for let's say you're working for Amazon and they're discussing promoting certain people or changing certain people's roles that would require you to get up and leave and move from San Francisco to, say, Atlanta. That's part of a job. That's part of working for a company, and especially if that is laid out in terms before you sign up to do it. It's no secret that trades
It's
were
also
part
the
of the NBA.
only downside to this job. I mean,
It's not
it's
that bad of a
the
downside.
only downside. I mean, you don't make the kind of money that the average American makes. You make exponentially more. All right. You don't work the hours that the average person in our society works. You work a lot less.
And
And you're making exponentially more. So the one downside of being a pro player is that, you kind of are bought and sold like a commodity, and you could have to uproot your family, but it's not a surprise to you. You knew what you signed up for. You willingly signed up for this. Yeah. And every player in the league willingly signs up for this. And you can, if it meant everything to you, I guarantee you, if this was your issue, okay, and you just said, hey, I can't live like this. I can't live in a situation where I could be traded at a moment's notice. I guarantee you that you could probably get every single team in the league to give you some kind of a no trade clause if you were willing to take well beneath market value in exchange. You know, if you're normally worth 10 million, but you're like, hey, screw that, I'll take 6.5 million, and just give me a no trade because I can't even think about living anywhere but Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And if I have to move, it will ruin my existence. Okay, yeah. If you tell them that you're willing to take 4 million less a year, they probably would write it in on your contract. But guys don't do that because they're not willing to take that much less. And it's one of those things where it's like it literally is probably, I mean, think about it. It's probably the only downside of being an NBA player is the potential to be traded. What I'd love to even hear anybody even try to verbalize any other downside to being an NBA player other than you potentially could get traded and sent to another city, not of your choosing, at any point during the season or off season.
I just really dislike.
What's the other than that? What's the downside? I don't see any downside to this.
Playing time, I guess you're right. Very little
playing time, but I mean, what's playing time? All guaranteed money.
Exactly. And again, I'm nitpicking saying that. I just really dislike people evoking that term in a misguided fashion like this, because there are situations that it maybe should be used for. This ain't it. And now he's gone. Nice knowing you for 2 months. That is true.
Armando Lara says, is Jimmy going to make the Dubs big at 2 or small at 3 with 3-guard Kerr lineup? Same issue. Coast to coast. Says Steve likes broken players in and out because he thinks he'll be good as a shrink. Okay.
Dr.
J
Kerr.
Figs, Ramon. Is that another somebody else coming up with the
J Figs? No, I don't think so. I think that's good.
Okay. Maybe that's just J Figs Ramon. So, what's up, Jay? He said Warriors are like the Niners. They don't put their rookies on the bench going back to the Don Nelson days. They don't put their rookies on the bench? Or does he mean on the floor?
I don't know. I don't understand.
I'm not really sure. Damian LaRoche. Stripper Wiggins gone. We manifested it, Cy.
I mean, let's not pretend that Wiggins. Well, because what Damian LaRoche, Golden Dazer, is saying is Andrew Wiggins, there were photographs of him at strip clubs, boozing it up, partying. Like,
Yeah, so
weeks, maybe a month before he vanished, before he suddenly, the first time he vanished, because there were multiple instances of that. The first time, and he was gone for like a month or whatever it was. Yeah, it was like shortly before that, there were all these photos of him. He's like at a strip club with Ryan Rollins, just partying, and yeah. So it's take that for what it's worth. That's what he's talking
hey,
about.
man, I ain't judging him.
But
28's
Larry,
28's a little on the older side, but I mean, I ain't judging him.
But Larry, again, this happened right before he vanished, and we still have never gotten like a full answer, right, on that. And even if it was entirely,
you're saying it's related to the strip club visit, the vanishing,
because
is that what you're saying?
There are some reports, or at least I've gotten reports that it's more. Who cares? Let's move on. I don't want to get into this.
Yeah, seriously. J. Figs Ramon, don't take him off the bench, huh? Okay.
I don't get it, man. I'm still lost. I'm a
little lost
help
too,
us,
but
please.
it's all right.
Help me help you.
Okay, wait a second. We got this one. We skipped this one. Miguel R says, Kerr, can I buy a vowel there, or can I buy a consonant? Kerr is the biggest problem front office won't address. Why is Healed, GP2, Looney on this team? Get a big, take small guards from Kerr. Dre at 5 won't work.
This was a step in that direction. I mean, this was definitely a message to him too. I don't doubt that for a second, that this was Joe Lacob basically saying, we've tried it your way for for 2.5 years, and it hasn't worked enough. I definitely do see that in terms of this decision, because Steve Kerr, his last comments before this trade was, I'd be happy if we stayed pat. I'm perfectly fine with this team. Of course you are. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, why? Why would you be perfectly content? I mean, have you lost your fire?
I don't.
Do you not want to win?
I don't get it.
I mean, you're 500. You got. I mean, first of all, that's like the worst thing, because you started 12-3 and now you're 500. So it's like, if you love this thing, then man, I got to question that. _ Carl Zion says, if we lock up Vucevic by tomorrow, we're cooking. Carl, I agree. Or _ Carl, I agree.
Yeah.
Kid Tricksta's in the house. He says, breaking. The Warriors have traded for a power forward, a center.
Last name Homie.
Mizo Hornet. Mizo Hornet. Stop it, Kid Tricksta. Hey, Kid Tricksta, now that you've put this up there, I need to tell a story about this. This is classic.
Please.
I'm in college. I have a big party at my house.
I love college stories.
All my buddies came over. This was an era. This was like 1990, whatever, 1991, something like that. Sac State, yeah. It was at a time where on TV, there was like a call. There was like you could call in and play videos. Like you could call in and pay money, and have them play a video on this whatever channel it was.
I remember that for a brief moment that existed. Yes.
And there was a guy in my fraternity, the great Rudy Ortiz. Rudy Ortiz was I think the guy who did the morning show.
What was your fraternity's like
Rudy Lopez. Rudy Lopez. What's that?
Did your fraternity have a call sign? Like I was in Delta Sigma Phi. If you're a DSP / or a Delta Sig, depending on what they call your shortened name is at the school you go to, YITBOS, YITBOS was our acronym, which stood for Yours in the Brotherhood of Sphinx. That was our little greeting.
What?
Did you have one of those?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
I was Lambda Chi Alpha. Anyway, but so Rudy, my buddy Rudy, shows up at our party, and when we looked at our phone bill, he had called up this video thing and demanded 2 Live Crews Me So Horny like 9 times at like $2.50 a piece. And I brought the phone bill to the meeting, and I'm like, bro, what kind of loser calls up Me So Horny 9 times at our party? And he owned it. We all started chanting that he had no friends. And then he had to cut me a check. And then we dumped beer on him. It was a good time. It was a good time. But yeah,
It sure was.
he loved Luther Campbell. He loved Two Live Crew. He loved Me So Horny.
Oh,
there you go.
Two Live
And
Crew was
obviously,
long.
so did Kid Tricksta. The Warriors have traded for Me So Horny. Thank you.
Sign me
Appreciate
up.
that. Takes me back. Bill M in the house says, could the Dubs deal Butler and more for Giannis? Could they turn around if Butler isn't a fit in the offseason or future offseasons and say, hey, can we spin him into Giannis? No?
Well, he just signed the extension, so I think
Probably
that
can't move him
6-month
for another
rule
year.
applies. So in 6 months, in 6 months,
Maybe next summer. I mean, maybe next maybe next summer, right? Not this summer.
Yes, next offseason, the offseason,
next
correct.
offseason, yeah. All right, those are all the supers.
We got through them.
We got through them. We had
All
18
right.
supers tonight. 18, that's a lot. And if a
Dude,
19
this
pops
is a
up
big
19,
move, Larry. I mean, you look at the
this
history
is big.
of
We
the Warriors,
got 2,500 people hanging out.
That's a good number. Thank you, everyone.
That's a good number.
Sincerely. You look at the history of the Warriors, though, Larry. I mean, there aren't a lot of instances like this. I mean, the KD trade was probably the biggest one. You know, they traded away Robert Parrish. I mean, they're known for these stupid-ass trades.
The worst trades of all time. Parrish for McHale, and it was Joe Barry Carroll and Ricky Brown for Robert Parrish and the third pick in the draft, which became Kevin McHale.
Awful. And you look at the rest of the history.
It's the worst trade of all time.
For what became
Mitch Richmond for Billy Owens.
Disaster. You traded
Chris The worst trade was Chris Webber for Tom Gugliotta.
Yes, disaster.
How about Tom Gugliotta for Daniel Marshall,
who became Danny Fortson?
How about Antoine Jameson for Vince Carter?
That's another bad one.
Or Vince Carter for Antoine Jameson, excuse me.
Yes, another bad one. How about who did they even trade Sprewell for? I know they traded him. I don't know.
Well, no, that was a duress trade. That was Sprewell to the Knicks. It's funny, I just referenced this today. Sprewell to the Knicks for John Starks, Chris Mills, Terry Cummings. And it was because Chris Mills had the worst contract of all time, and Sprewell choked out the coach. That was the low point of Warrior basketball. I stood in the pregame, the next game, after Sprewell had choked the coach and was traded, and I'm standing there next to Tim Roy, and we're looking as the Warriors come out, and now we're seeing Chris Mills, Terry Cummings, and John Starks, and we literally had deconstructed a team that had won 50 games in 1993 with Chris Webber, Billy Owens, Chris Mullen, Avery Johnson, just an amazing team, and that team was totally disintegrated a couple years later. And watching those trades, and when they traded Sprewell, it was like they took 3 horrendous contracts on older players. And I remember sitting there with Tim Roy going, look what happened to the team that we had. We had Weber, we had Spree, we had Billy Owens, we had a 50-win team. We were young, we were talented, and now we have Starks and Terry Cummings, who was good at DePaul in 1985 or whatever, 1982. Terry Cummings, Chris Mills, John Starks for Sprewell in his prime. Oh, awful.
Yeah, and that was a long stretch. And the Baron Davis one was the first one in my lifetime that was a good trade.
That was Dale Davis and Speedy Claxton.
Good memory. Dale Davis, who the dad of Trace Jackson Davis, and that was the first. But then, of course, that didn't work out. It was a good.
There were so many. I mean, the Larry Hughes trade. I remember getting excited about the Larry Hughes trade. But yeah, today was big.
This was big, man, and I think this was a good trade. I mean, look, I know Jimmy Butler's old. I understand a lot of people have sentimentality toward Andrew Wiggins. I'm still perplexed. I will be forever in terms of why. But look, you have your feelings, and I respect that. But Jimmy Butler will produce, man. I'm very excited to see this. You're getting a Jimmy Butler who's pissed. You're getting a Jimmy Butler who's never won a ring, right? So he's motivated. Like, sign me up, man. This was a good trade. It's not a bit. Look, they could have done better. I mean, I would have been happier with Kevin Durant. I'm not going to lie. But this is a good trade, dude. Be happy, Dub Nation, and you will be when you see the results. I promise.
It is funny, though. It's like there are people and I've ripped the hell out of the idea of trading Kuminga for KD, and I made this big stink saying I won't be a Warrior fan, and all these people, and I meant it, and all these people were like, you're not a real fan. It's like, excuse me, what year did you become a fan of the Warriors? Tell me that. And the guy's like, 2012. I'm like, 2012? Try 1977, asshole. 2012. 2012 means that you basically are just a fan of titles. What year was the first title?
15. 2012 was the first Mark Jackson year. So that's when it finally started to shift.
I've been here for thick and thin since 2012. Are you kidding me? I've watched this team, just be horrible forever. Mm-hmm. You can ask Ray Ritter. I went to every NBA draft night, hoping for the best.
Raymond Ritter was begging us to go to games.
Begging. Please have Keith Smart on tonight, please. Now it's like, hey, man, you could come out, but there's no chance in hell you can talk to Steph, Draymond, Clay, this guy, that guy. It's like, great. If I want to interview John Murray, I'll come out. Otherwise, what am I doing? But yeah.
Golden Larry, I like that. I've never thought of that for the name of our collaboration, but Golden or Late Night with Golden Larry. I like that. There's a ring to that. Good job, Scott.
I don't know about that. I just put that up there. Anybody
dazed?
Anybody
Larry's
puts
dazed.
anything up there, I just occasionally I'll throw it in there. Okay, we got a couple more supers here. We got Pete Gregory in the house. He said, wasn't forward Jack Meoff?
No, he actually got the name, the last name wrong. The last name is Meoffer. So it's Jack Meoffer. Jack
Meoff.
Meoff is good too, but the really good one is Jack Meoffer. Yes.
Pete, really?
I respected Pete. I like
once again, if Steve Young were here, Pete, bro. Pete, hey, Pete Gregory, bro. All right, there you go. That's as far as I can get. Jay Figs Ramon says Warriors and Niners don't play rookies going back to the Bellinelli days. Marco Bellinelli. Do you remember him? He went for 40 in the summer league.
Yeah, he was like Tony Salvador's boy. He'd come to the KNBR studios and then go get lunch at what was that restaurant that had
Umbria?
Salvador had a bench named after him or had a
Umbria.
Yeah, that was Bellinelli's spot too, man. He liked that spot. I don't know if it's still there in San Francisco, but Umbria.
No, I don't think it's there.
It's a good spot. It's a good restaurant.
The Niners started Dominic Pooney at right guard the whole year. They play rookies. They just have to be good. The Niners have a good team. And if you're recently the Warriors have had a good team, that's pretty much why rookies don't play. Other than the Warriors, who do you like as far as the trade deadline cycle? Who would you say if I had said to you the big winner, is it just automatically the Lakers because they got Luka and they got Mark Williams, or is Sacramento a winner? Is there anybody that you look at? I mean, Sacramento got Jonas Valanciunas for CD Sissoko and 2-2s, and they got a nice little haul, including 6 draft picks for De'Aaron Fox. I mean, just the fact that De'Aaron Fox, I saw, by the way, Zach LaVine get off a small private jet in Sacramento today, and the weather was horrible. And I was sitting there looking at this going, I wonder what this guy thinks. I mean, this guy played at UCLA. This guy played in Chicago with the Bulls. And now he's playing in Sacramento. I mean, I like Sacramento, but if the first day you stop into town and it's...
You're just saying that, Larry. You don't like Sacramento.
Come on. I love Sacramento. Are you kidding me? Really? I think Sacramento's an awesome place to live. I really do. You're near Tahoe. You're near the Bay.
That's a good part.
I like hot weather in the summertime. It's a little bit better weather, I think, than the Bay as far as it's hot in the summer. If you like hot in the summer, and I do, it's beautiful in March. Like Sacramento in March is just gorgeous. I mean, it's amazing.
If that weather was year round, sign me up. I lived in Texas, Larry, for 2 years. Sacramento's
Texas
summers
is too hot.
rival that. Yeah, it's
No,
the humidity
it's
not. The
it's hot. It's hot, but isn't Texas way worse? What part of Texas were you in?
I was near Houston, dude. That's like one of the worst.
Oh,
places.
well, that's way worse.
For 2 years I lived there.
Houston is might as well. You might as well be in the Everglades.
I know shitty weather, dude. Like Atlanta, I think rivals it, and Sacramento doesn't have the humidity, but it is. This last summer,
it's hot. It's hot. But I mean, Walnut Creek's hot. I mean, I live in Walnut Creek. It's 97 degrees here. It's 105 here. But like when it's 105 here, it's maybe 110 in Sac. Where it's 97 here, it's like 107 in Sac or something like that. It's 5 to 10 degrees hotter in the heat of the summer for sure. But that doesn't bother me as long as you got AC. I like hot weather and I like hot nights in the summertime. I like the heat, and in the wintertime, Sacramento, it's nice. It's called the city of trees. There's so many trees. There's so many golf courses. There's so many rivers. It's nice, man. I like Sac. Now, I think it's been kind of overrun with drugs and meth, and there's all kinds of bad problems there. But if you live in a nice area of Sac, I mean, the climate is phenomenal.
Your brother's a judge there, so I imagine you have a lot of stories about the grittiness of Sac. I could be mistaken on that, depending on what your brother.
I mean, I could tell you some stories, but yeah, my brother's a Superior Court judge, so he deals with child custody and that kind of stuff. So it's probably pretty heavy.
Christ.
He's dealing with heavy stuff.
That is
I always
heavy.
tell him, man, I'm like, I'm working in the toy department of life over here.
So real fast, exactly, you're right, 100% right, and we're grateful, eternally grateful for this. There isn't a day goes by where I'm not thankful. At least I'm sure I'm speaking on your behalf, saying that as well. The Sacramento Kings, real fast, going back to what you brought up about the trade, and we're not even at we're not done with the trade deadline yet, but I'm gonna give the nod for the winner. Here's how I'll label it. I'll say Lakers 1A. Because the Luka thing was ridiculous. It shouldn't have surprised anyone. The NBA going as far back as the 60s has been giving LA just gifts. If with whether it's Will Chamberlain, whether it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, whether it's somehow getting the Lakers the number 1 pick in the draft so they can get Magic Johnson, whether it's Shaquille O'Neal, whether the Kobe Bryant thing. Look, more power to Jerry West for spotting him with the 13th pick and trading with Charlotte for that. But Pau Gasol, they just get gifts. They just get presents all the time. So I wasn't surprised by that. It still sucks, but I'll say they're 1A, partly because this Mark Williams trade is weird to me. I haven't really figured out like the why of that, if that's a good trade or not. But 1B, Larry, is the same.
I think he's good. He's a big man and he's cheap, and you needed a replacement. You lost Anthony Davis. I like that move for the Lakers. To me, I mean, if you said to me, would you trade Anthony Davis and Dalton Connect for Luka Doncic and Mark Williams? Yes.
You do it.
I would.
Yeah. What 1B though is the Spurs. The Spurs are legit now, dude, and they're just going to get better. They now have like a foundation in place to recruit free agents. They have that stockpile of picks to make more moves. The Spurs are in a damn good spot, and they're going to be in that spot for the next 10 years. I envy them. Congratulations. The Sacramento Kings are the 2023 Chicago Bulls, Larry. They're the exact same team as the Bulls were, just older. I mean, didn't the Bulls just a year or two ago have DeMar DeRozan? Just last year, Zach LaVine, and dude, I think the Kings are cooked. That's my opinion. Domantas Sabonis has no one setting him up now. Like, I don't think Malik Monk is the point guard that he needs. So I think they're screwed. That's just me. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know what to say about Sacramento. I mean, they're still in the process of putting things together, but. I didn't hate their moves. I mean, I thought they saved the situation pretty good when Fox wanted out, somewhat arbitrary. And then, he's, to get 6 picks and 2 players, and then to turn around and trade Sissoko and a couple 2s, 2 of those 2s, you got 3 of them, and you took turn two of them, and you got a big man. So now, I mean, I think they've got a nice center. They can play Sabonis at power forward. I mean, they've Sacramento and right now has got a big, strong, physical, front line. I mean, I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that Sabonis is not their big man now. Now the big man is the center, and Sabonis can play with him. So I don't know. I mean, I'm eager to see what that looks like. It just seems Sacramento never quite gets there. It seems like they never quite finish the build. But I am eager to see what it looks like down the stretch. And I'm eager to see what tomorrow brings, by the way, because, I mean, it seems like NBA trade deadline day always provides deals. Was Bobby Portis moved today?
No, that's not as far as I know, at least. And
Bobby Portis would be a nice player to get if you're Golden State. I don't know if he's going to be moved. Is there anybody besides Vucevic? I know they re-signed Lonzo, but is Patrick Williams, Kobe White?
Patrick Williams is not anyone I get excited for. I agree with you. The Lonzo Ball, and we had some folks on Golden Days like a month and a half ago, even 2 months ago, coming on our show saying the Warriors should look at Lonzo because he's having this turnaround season. But look, the Kings, and I don't. If I'm a Kings fan, I'm so bitter, dude. Like in the last 2-3 years, you had that one postseason run, which was awesome, but you did lose Game 7 to the Warriors at home, which I'm sure stung. Stephen Curry dropping 50. You lose Tyrese Halliburton, who is an Olympian. Who knows what his ceiling is? We have not seen the best of Tyrese Halliburton yet. Now you lose De'Aaron Fox, and you've got a team with a bunch of like B options, like Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. I know Sabonis is good. He's an all-star, but he's never carried a team anywhere and done anything. The Kings are screwed. That's my point. If you're a Kings fan, you're bitter, I'm guessing, and I get it. And I'm sorry. It sucks. Is
there any outside of Vucevic, is there any player that you think the Warriors may be involved in a run at tomorrow before the deadline?
It's a good question. I mean, there's a few names out there that have been floated as options, like Robert Williams, the third of the Portland Trailblazers is out there. Like you could get him for cheap. I'm guessing Cam Johnson is probably too expensive for the Warriors at this point. I wouldn't hate him if the Warriors made a play for that. I know that Kelly Olynyk of the Raptors is another one. Like he's probably cheap. He wouldn't be the worst option as a center. I mean, he does hit the three and spaces the floor. Miles Turner is the sexiest name. If you can magically pull that off, congratulations. I don't know if the Pacers would be willing. He is going to be an unrestricted free agent next season. He reportedly wants $30 million a year, an asking price that I don't think Indiana will match, but who knows? So
what is New Orleans going to do?
Nick Claxton of the Brooklyn Nets, who makes $20 million a year. But yeah, he's another one. I wouldn't hate that. So
what's New Orleans going to do?
Well, they just traded. They just made the trade today where they finally moved on from Brandon Ingram. What a weird story that Brandon Ingram, like his trajectory just plummeted in terms of value and optimism, and like he got traded for a bag of chips, dude. It's really sad, and like a stale bag of salt and vinegar potato kettle. It's really sad what happened with Brandon Ingram. I thought he would have been great for the Warriors at a much lower price, but what are you going to do? So the Raptors get Brandon Ingram, Zion Williams. We have Williamson. We have no idea what's going to happen there. It seems like maybe New Orleans will keep him. Who knows?
Will Durant get moved to anywhere?
I don't think so. Because everything I've looked at with Durant in terms of trades, like it's all the propositions or proposals, whatever, are so one-sided. Like I haven't seen a single trade with Kevin Durant mentioned in it where the Suns are getting equal value back. So I don't know why the Suns would do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to move on from Bradley Beal and they can't. That's the price you paid, man. Like you traded for him. You knew he had that no trade deal. Now you're stuck. Good. Have fun.
How about
with
Green?
That.
Is there a pivot on Draymond Green, or is he for sure back?
I don't.
Because I saw his name mentioned a couple times this week.
But again, it's all in these like it's all in these like these clickbait speculation type content. Like, who knows? I would guess no. Draymond to me seems like he's glued to Steph. Would you agree? That's my guess. Like, I think Dre is like kind of stuck at the hip with Steph, and the team.
Well, I think Joe was going to trade Draymond to get KD back.
I think he would have if that was an option. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But without KD, is there anyone else that you think he'd do that for?
Probably not. Probably not. But I'll tell you, man, it's definitely going to make the Jimmy Butler, Draymond era very juicy. Is these guys are both alphas, and it's pretty interesting to see, what that's going to look like together.
That is it. Yeah,
that is Dusty Gold. He's like, that's why Larry got off on so many drunken offenses because of his brother. Yeah, thank you. That
is
thanks
slander.
for that is Dusty Gold. Thanks for the vote of confidence there.
That is, yeah. But there's one important note to add to all this. Let's say the Warriors don't do anything else, and the trade deadline tomorrow, I believe, is 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific is when the clock actually strikes and it's over. I think, if someone wants to confirm in the chat, please. The buyout market is not something the Warriors have been active in pretty much ever. I can't really think of any one player that Warriors...
nobody's choosing them. I mean, somebody has to choose you in the buyout market. Yeah. And, I don't know that the Warriors... I mean, one thing that I think has got to be, pretty clear is that the Warriors are not a destination anymore. Nobody wants to be here for the most part. I don't want to beat them up over it, but this whole idea that there's some choice destination doesn't seem like that's the case anymore.
Larry, when has it ever been outside of like the peak dynasty years? I mean, this is
right. It's always LA. It's always Miami. It's always, New York.
LA.
Yeah. LA.
That's it. Yeah. Those are your spots. Unless like a team is really good, and you have a chance at a ring maybe then, but for whatever reason, the Bay Area has never been this lucrative, ideal destination for free agents. I remember back in around the late 90s, early 2000s when Corey Maggette signed with the Warriors. And I was thinking, damn, we got Corey Maggette from the Clippers. Jesus. I mean, that was such a ridiculous move to be excited for, but that's how it was back in those days. If you were a Warriors fan, Corey Maggette coming to the Warriors was big news. The buyout market, the deadline for that in terms of adding a player that can play on your roster come postseason is March 1st. So when the trade deadline ends tomorrow at noon, then you're going to have this 3-week period where players like Ben Simmons, you and I have talked about him a lot, could become available. And maybe the Warriors look there. I don't know. But we shall see. That's another thing to keep in mind, though, is whether or not the buyout market's presented. And then if you look at the Warriors with Jimmy Butler, that's one of the perks of getting a Jimmy Butler is you might have an easier time attracting free agent players. And that's a positive for the Warriors. So one of many in terms of Jimmy Butler.
All right. So I guess that we're pretty much pretty good here. We're an hour and 41 minutes in. We're
it never
coming
feels
up
like that with you, brother. It never does.
We're coming up on 10:30. You want to hit some of these scores from around the league, and then we'll jet.
Sure.
Here we go. Yeah. Well, the first one is Milwaukee beat Charlotte tonight, 112-102. Big 38-point first quarter for Milwaukee. Milwaukee also made some trades today. 23-17 for Bobby Portis. My God, Lillard had 29-12, but 23-17 for Bobby Portis.
Well, what did you think about the Kyle Kuzma trade? Milwaukee gave, and this was really underrated. Like I feel like this trade should have gotten more attention, but then again, when you have like Luka Doncic deals, it does mask smaller trades like these, but. Again, they get Kyle Kuzma. They give up Chris Middleton. What are your thoughts on that? I thought that was interesting.
It's an upgrade. I mean, Middleton's an older player. I mean, Middleton was a really good player a couple years ago. I think Kuzma is going to be a better player where he goes next because he was playing for the Wizards.
Yeah. And
the Wizards are just a low-energy franchise. It's a low-energy building. It has been since they played in the Cap Center. And I just think that I think that, he'll thrive in Milwaukee. I think Kuzma is a really talented guy. I really do.
Championship experience. He gives them size. He gives them three-point shooting. I just love the fact that the Wizards, who are easily the worst team in the NBA, I think they have 8 wins on the season. They recently had a 2-win winning streak. And they're like, no, enough winning. Kyle Kuzma, you're out. You're done.
Cavs Pistons in Detroit. Cavs beat the Pistons 118-115. Cavs are 41-10. 41-10. Pistons fall beneath 500 at home. 30-9-7 for Evan Mobley. He's awesome.
Oof.
25 for Darius Garland. 16 for Craig Porter off the bench. Ty Jerome had set 13 points and 5 assists and 4 rebounds off the bench. He's playing well there for Cleveland.
He didn't play at all last year. Evan Mobley, by the way, is an interesting case study when we talk about Jonathan Kuminga and young players and the minutes they get. Evan Mobley was in the same draft as Kuminga. I think he was selected second in that draft. Yep. And when you look at his stats, he's another player where you look at his career this early in, it's year 4, and you wonder, okay, well, what has gone into his development? Well, his rookie season, he averaged 33.8 minutes per game. He was putting up 15 points. That's what rookies do. He went on to average 34.4 minutes per game, 30.6 minutes per game. My point is, you have to give these guys minutes. They're not going to produce right away. And it's why all these people that judge Kuminga this early in his career, when he has never had a season with real minutes, it's absurd. Give this guy a chance. I'm so excited to see Kuminga hopefully unleashed here, but the Evan Mobley case study is an example of why you give these guys minutes. It sometimes takes a while.
It'd be nice to see, Kuminga just fully unleashed and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Cleveland, by the way, 17-6 on the road. They're really good on the road. And for Detroit, Cade Cunningham, 38, 7 boards, 9 assists, 4 steals. What a star Evan Mobley is, or what a star Cade Cunningham is.
They both are.
No question. All right, let's go to the next one. Hawks lose to the Spurs, 126-125.
I don't feel like I'm in the club right now, man. There's a void missing from this segment, and I'm guessing it's the music. I could be wrong. Maybe we don't need it. I'll follow your lead, sir.
Hold on.
But there's something about that music. You turned me on to that, by the way. I was not aware of that music until you. There it is. There. Yes.
All right. Let's see. What other scores have we not hit yet tonight? Every time I move to this page, it moves them around. Spurs lose to the Hawks, or Spurs beat the Hawks 126-125 in Atlanta.
Ooh.
Big Victor Wembanyama, 24, 12, and 2. 24 and 13 for De'Aaron Fox in his first game in San Antonio.
Impressive.
And the Spurs win on the road. 32 for Trae Young, 32 and 12 assists.
And Chris Paul on the Spurs, I bring him up because you mentioned the alpha dog potential conflict with Draymond Green and now Jimmy Butler. My worries about that eased when I saw him and Chris Paul play together, with Draymond and Chris Paul. And Draymond is he's had his moments. He's clearly emotional, but at the same time, he's shown that he can mature in certain situations. I think him and Jimmy are going to be fine. Side note, they do have a relationship, a friendship, and they've communicated regularly behind the scenes before this trade. So that's not going to be a weird fit when they're on the court together.
Wizards 119-102 in Brooklyn at the Barclays over the Nets. Jordan Poole with 19 to lead the way for the Wizards. He had 19 points, 8 assists.
3-game winning streak for the Wizards.
Yeah, 17 for Cam Johnson. He led the way for the Nets in that one, 119-102. Also, the Heat beat the Sixers 108-101. Tyler Hero, 30.7 boards, 7 assists. Tyrese Maxey had 31 in the game for the Sixers. Sixers 10-16 at home. Jeez, they've been such underachievers. Raptors got destroyed at home by the Grizzlies, 138-107. Jaren Jackson with 32. Jaren Jackson, one of my favorite players. He's fun to watch.
Yes.
T-Wolves beat the Bulls, 127-108, 19 for Giddey. How about Anthony Edwards tonight? 49 and 9 rebounds.
Love him. He's my favorite player who isn't on the Warriors. Do you have one?
Favorite? I mean, he's one of my favorites to watch in the league right now. I mean, there's no question. He's, as far as favorite player in the whole league, Think about that for a second.
Who isn't
do I
on the
really
Warriors? Like obviously, like Steph is, I'm guessing, most people's fave. But yeah, when the Warriors aren't playing, is there one player that you're like, ooh, like it's just, price of admission, you're all in? Like I love watching Anthony Edwards play. He's the future's in good hands.
Wembanyama is pretty fun to watch for sure.
That too, yeah.
I like him a lot. I like watching Jokic.
That's a good one too.
And by the way, on the Jokic tip, Nuggets 144, Pelicans 119, 39-12 for Michael Porter Jr. Trey Murphy is another guy I love watching. He had 25 and 9 assists. Another guy that I called in the draft, get Trey Murphy.
Yes, he did.
And the Warriors said, no, we'd rather have Moses Moody.
And just to let people know, especially the Golden Dazers on tonight's show, Larry, this way, wasn't just advocating for Trey Murphy III with the 14th pick. A pick, by the way, that, as you mentioned, Larry, Chris Duarte would have been the ideal selection, but he got selected one pick ahead by the Sacramento Kings, right? Or was it the Pacers? Pacers, sorry, thank you. And so the Warriors had the 14th pick. Duarte's off the board. You were saying on multiple shows, mine included, they need to get Alperen Şengün, Trey Murphy III. And again, I don't mean to bash Moses Moody. I think he still could be a very nice player when all said and done.
He's just not those guys.
But he's not those guys, yeah. And that's a shame. Your evaluations are impeccable, brother. Like,
thank you, sir. Thank you. I also had Damian Lillard coming out of Weber State. I told Ratty I'm like, hey,
one, but that's
Damian Lillard, Weber State. And
where is that? I've never even heard of that school.
They play in the Big Sky. I don't know. Maybe it's in Utah, I think. Thunder 140, Suns 109, 25 for Beal. Shea had 50. How about that? And the Kings lose at home to the Magic. How about the Magic? They come and beat Sacramento 130-111. Franz Wagner had 31, and Sabonis 21 and 13. Sacramento drops to 500 at home. 25-25 on the year, 13 and 13 at home. Kings are the epitome of the 500 team.
Yep.
All right, that does it for us. Cy, when do you appear next? What's your next extravaganza?
Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I'm going to get the perspective of Hall of Famer Rick Barry. We do a weekly segment brought to you by Dr. Tom Rosanelli. So Rick will join Golden Days tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be a live show. If you want to partake and add your comments in the chat for Rick to read, should be a good time. I'm curious to know what Rick's reaction is, because it's always intriguing to me when I ask him before a show. Like tonight, I texted him. I'm like, what are your thoughts? And he wants to save them for the show. So that always piques my interest when he does that to me. So
he won't tell you his thoughts. He wants to surprise you.
Either surprise or he doesn't have them yet. I don't know. But regardless, the fact that I can't predict what he's going to say intrigues me. I'm excited. So
gotcha.
What do you got next, man?
Tomorrow's a Thursday. It's kind of a light day for me. I'll do some videos in the daytime. Not sure. I'll probably get on the Giants. They had $20 million earmarked for free agents, and they've sat on it. So we will probably attack them tomorrow. But Niners Nightly tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on KMBR, and Brad Graham's going to stop by. He was in Mobile all week at the Senior Bowl, so we'll pick his brain. And then I stream on Thursday nights with Dieter. And by the way, congratulations to Dieter, because Dieter tonight, him and his lovely bride welcomed their second baby into the world. And I believe it's a little girl. So Dieter is...
two-time
now
dad.
Has two little girls. So congratulations, Dieter.
Yeah. And
hopefully he'll be able to join us tomorrow night for a little stream at around 9 o'clock. And then on Friday, Damon Bruce will stop by. I believe we'll stream as well with Chase Sr. And I'm filming a segment for a Marty Lurie documentary movie. Yes, there's a documentary on Marty Lurie. I'll be filming a segment on Friday.
Is it a Giants documentary that he's producing? I don't get it.
No, it's a documentary about him. It's not a Giants
directed
documentary.
And funded and produced by him?
I don't know. I'm not sure who the director is.
Sorry, Marty.
But I'll be taping, and then I'll do my Niners Nightly Friday as well. And then Saturday at 9 a.m., I'll be streaming with John Chapman, and we'll be doing a mock draft. And then Sunday, of course, is Super Bowl Sunday. I'll do a full post-game show after the Super Bowl, and we're giving away the Ricky Pearsall jersey, signed Ricky Pearsall jersey in the post-game show. So
if you want me to join that show, I will do that for you, sir. Obviously, I'll leave it up to you. I feel like
absolutely. We're more the merrier. We always love the post-game shows. Super Bowl. It's probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that. Like tonight.
Can we real fast touch on that before we like? I know you and I agree that the Eagles will pull off the upset. Do you still stand by that? Has your opinion changed since?
I don't know what I stand by right now. I kind of like I do think the Eagles are the better team, but Mahomes is Mahomes, I think Kansas City's the best coached team in the league, and they have the best quarterback in the league. Philadelphia's got better talent. I think both defenses will rule the day. If you had to bet it, I'd say bet the under. I like Philly's defense to beat Kansas City's offense. I like Kansas City's defense to beat Philly's offense. So I think both defenses are going to find a way to win the day. So I like a kind of a lower scoring game. It was a high scoring game when these teams got together a couple years ago. I'm going to say it's a little bit of a low scoring game. If I was wagering on it, I think I would probably tease whatever side I like plus the under. So, so I don't know. I part of me says I like the Eagles because I just think that they're going to be able to run the ball. But, Kansas City is so well coached. Mahomes, is going to outplay Hurts. And I'm just not, I don't know if I want to, I hate the Eagles fans. So their fans are such scum that it's so easy to root against them and their whole fan base. So I don't know. I'll probably tease the Chiefs and the under. That's probably the way I go. But I gotta even then I might want to play with it a little bit because I hate rooting, especially against Mahomes. I just feel like he scores as many points as he needs to score. It's crazy. It's like certain games they look really limited offensively, and then other games they put up 30 and they look like kind of explosive. So it's going to be a low over under total. So right now I would say play the under and lean with the Eagles, but I gotta do more research, and I will be doing more research tonight. Warren Sharp has reams. If you don't follow Warren Sharp on X, you really should. And he has reams of data that a lot of it's really, really good. So I will read his reams of data. Then I will go read the Bill Barnwell breakdown of the game. Then I'll factor in all the factors and stats from those two sources, and I'll come up with something, and I'll wager and hopefully win. So there you go. That's the plan.
It's betting against Patrick Mahomes is a tough sell. He's like, do you think he's going to rival Brady in the GOAT argument when all said and done? Because
yes, he already does. Yet. He's been in the league 7 years. He's been in the NFC Championship or in the AFC Championship game all 7 years.
Crazy. It's crazy. Yeah,
it's amazing.
I'm with you. I'm with you in that I think the Eagles on paper are the slightly better team. And I feel like if he's going to lose, it'll be tomorrow. It'll be Sunday, because the fact that there's never been a three-peat, man, and I'm an NFL historian almost as much as you are, given I grew up with the Niners, and so I can never stop following the NFL after that. And I got spoiled rotten growing up with the Niners, but they also taught me how to sustain a dynasty. I studied that shit like I was a student I was in grad school. I loved it. I loved everything about it. Patrick Mahomes is so damn difficult to beat. It's annoying how good he is. So I could understand anyone not wanting to bet against him. I feel like, though, if it's going to happen, it would be this Sunday. This Eagles team's good, and
they're good.
The Chiefs haven't blown anyone out, right? I don't think that the biggest margin of victory this season.
No, the Chiefs are. That's what I'm saying. The Chiefs are kind of limping towards the three-peat, and this is the end of their run. I think at the very top. I really do believe that. I just think that they're going to be a little bit watered down, but But maybe, we'll see. I mean, it's hard to go against Mahomes. The quarterback is such a huge say. I'll put a stat up here in a second you're going to be amazed by. But Armando Lara says, what happens to NFL coach when he stops innovating? I don't know that any of these guys are truly innovative. Bill M
Not
says,
Bill
Larry,
Walsh,
you need to
right?
contract out to the 49ers and the Warriors for the draft. I probably do.
A lot of these teams, it's so sad how closed off these teams are, because if they were innovative, like the Dallas Mavericks briefly tried something that was very intriguing in the same vein, where they hired a gambling expert. I forgot the guy's name. Like he used to be a regular guest with Bill Simmons, and the guy just makes a shitload of money just betting. And the Mavericks decided to actually hire this guy, brought him in the building. He became an analyst for them for scouting, for drafting, for free agents, and it didn't last long. And I think what happened is he would give them his ideas, and most of the times they would listen and then they'd go the other direction. And it just became an untenable relationship in a really fast moment. And this is where egos come into play, right? Every one of these owners, they think they're the smartest person in the world. But if they had any true sense, they would hire you, and they'd hire Rick Barry, for example. People like they bring these voices in, man, just to get a new perspective. I mean, you know what you're doing as a scout. They should know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they should be aware of that.
Here's the thing. Nobody, unless you have a proving ground where you can show that you don't miss. Nobody, first of all, none of these things are done by one guy typically. I mean, some years it is done by one guy, but mostly it's a room full of people, and they've invested lots and lots and lots of man hours, and they've had all kinds of mock drafts and conversations. And so, but I do, I have people that I know that do scout around the NFL, and I scouted with them. And they'll call me in the springtime and see, like, hey, Krug, if I give you 10 guys and I pay you $500, will you watch film for me and just give me your thoughts? And that's the only thing I'm really interested in doing right now, because I like the hours that I put in, and I like, I like my friends in the league, and they seek out my opinion, and I give it to them, and they compensate me for it, but it's very informal, and it's like, you know what, I almost kind of prefer it that way. Dan Coach Emilio says Vic Fangio 0-8 against Kansas City, and Andy Reid off a bye is almost unbeatable. Look for Spags to force Jalen Hurts to beat them passing, and Kansas City has great cover corners.
Shit. I mean,
yeah, no, I think Danny's making a good point. He's making a good point there.
I want to give props.
Joe Schmo's like, hey, let Larry pick the first 3 rounds. Thank you. Thank you.
I want to give props to Real Deal Sports, just because they brought up Joe Montana being the GOAT. Agreed. You can't win the argument anymore. I mean, Brady's 7 Super Bowls, even though none of those came in blowouts, whereas Joe was just beating the shit out of teams left and right. And Joe played in an era where he was getting his ass kicked. Brady, meanwhile, sheltered out of his mind. But you can't argue with the 7 Super Bowls to 4. With that said, in terms of eye test, if you grew up watching Montana, he's the GOAT. There's no one else, man. If there was a gun to my head and my life was on the line, this is how I decide GOAT arguments. If someone put a gun to your head and they said this one person will save your life if they come through, who are you gonna roll with? If it was in basketball and it came down to one shot, I'm picking Michael Jordan all day, every day, man. I would rather have my life saved by Jordan. And if it was football and it came down to one throw, I'm picking Joe Montana, dude. That guy was so cool under pressure. No interceptions ever in a Super Bowl. Undefeated in the Super Bowl. Joe, you're my man. And real deal, I respect your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where what do these guys have in common? And what they have in common is that they're just the greatest competitors of all time. Michael Jordan is the greatest competitor. I mean, he did you hear his Hall of Fame speech? He was still competing in his Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah, he cared.
It was sad. His Hall of Fame speech was sad because he was still competing. Did you see the Last Dance? He's still competing with guys like Gary Payton Sr. by the glove, the glove, that whole thing.
And his reaction when he sees like his eyes are all opening up when he heard Gary say he could defend him. Like,
Joe Montana was insanely competitive. Derek Jeter, insanely competitive. That's one of the things that makes me feel so good about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is insanely competitive. And that's what it takes. The guys who win all the time are insanely competitive. And while you'd rather win, they need to win. And it's amazing. The guy who needs to win often does win. So yeah, but that's going to do it for us. I gotta need to jet, but good show. Thanks to Cy. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to all my good friends at Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Thanks to our friends at Mancini's. Cy, you want to shout anybody else out before we pull the ripcord?
Yeah, just one more shout out to Dr. Rosanelli. Visit rosanelli.com for all your hair restoration needs. Do not turn into a LeBron James. If your hair is thinning, if it's completely bald, just give Dr. Rosanelli a call at a minimum. Just for a consultation. It's free, 415-931-9881. Again, 415-931-9881, or visit rosanelli.com. And because, Larry, this is the 50th anniversary of Rick Barry winning the 75 NBA Finals MVP, leading the Warriors to that championship, arguably the biggest upset in pro sports history, sweeping the vaunted Bullets. Dr. Rosanelli is adding a 0 to that 50 and giving folks $500 off. All you got to do is mention Rick Barry's name, and we'll do that for you. Visit rosanelli.com. Thank you, brother. As always, man.
Absolutely. For Cy, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for.